Okay, so I just wanted to, I guess, just have a little couple of minutes talking about the whole issue of perception around safety and, you know, the whole concept of natural being safe. And I think it's really important that as growers start to utilize more biological products, that we don't get into a mindset that those products that, you know, might contain natural microorganisms or natural plant extracts, that somehow they are intrinsically safer than other products that are out there. And the reason that I want to do that is because I want to make sure that the biological products that people are using are not potentially going to create a risk profile for the industry. I'm a great proponent that, you know, new biopesticide products should meet the same regulatory standards as any other products, and that just because something is natural doesn't mean it's intrinsically safe. And so I have heard some growers say, oh gosh, you know, that trichoderma is working really well, I'll just put more on, like the more the better. And that's not actually the case. You know, the reason that registered products have a label that indicates, you know, what rates they're supposed to apply is because if you put on too little, it probably won't work. If you put on too much, you could create a negative. And that negative could be phytotoxic, it could, you know, it could inhibit the plant growing, or it could be negative for the environment, knocking out a lot of other beneficials in the soil, or it could have a potential health risk to humans. And so I just want everyone to treat biologicals with the respect that they deserve. They are living microorganisms, they can reproduce, and they are marketed and registered to be used in a certain way. And if you go outside of that, there is always the potential for a negative outcome. And I have been, when I was in the States, there were quite a lot of products being pushed out into the market as biostimulants, and they didn't have any strict registration, and there were sort of negative outcomes from some of those activities. You know, some crops were completely destroyed. There were some responses where growers were finding that they were getting, you know, skin rashes, or they were having problems breathing because they were not using, you know, the normal protective equipment. They weren't using masks because they just sort of thought, oh, well, this is a natural product, it's fine. And so whenever I talk about biologicals, I give them the same safety sort of profile as I would as if it was a synthetic agrochemical. And I think it's really important when you're using them to just remember that, because the last thing that we want, and it would absolutely kill the whole use of biologicals, is if we had a major you know, human health scare associated with the misuse of a biological. And it's, you know, it's like, I remember 20 years ago, there were some trichoderma products that were put out in the market in the UK, and they were quite severely phytotoxic. Now that pretty well killed trichoderma products being able to be sold sort of in that region on those crops for almost a decade, because people assumed that, well, if that trichoderma did that negative thing, then this trichoderma would as well. So my take-home message is, you know, biologicals have got lots of value. I'm passionate about them, but at the end of the day, they're still, you know, microbes, and they're still producing, in many cases, toxic metabolites, and we do have to make sure that we treat them with respect. So on that note, who have we got on the panel? Nigel, David, Stu, and Tom. Come on up, guys. Oh no, we don't need a chair because nobody will see them. They just have to stand. Okay, so, gosh, it's like a lineup, like who did it? Who's the murderer? Okay, let's have some questions. And so we don't really want to talk about specific products. We want to talk about what are your concerns about biological products? What are the unanswered questions? What are the experiences that growers have had? What's worked and what hasn't worked? We'll go with this.
Can bios potentially become resistant also?
Oh, now that's an interesting one. Let's see if any of the guys know the answer to that, because I do.
My understanding is no.
I agree with you, Dave. I think no. I think the potential for resistance is a lot lower anyway, because of their naturally persisting in the environment.
It's different to no.
Well, I guess because they're a living organism, they can evolve and change, whereas an agchem is a set chemistry. So, I guess when I say no, they may develop slight resistance, but they may adjust their makeup to overcome it. I don't know. I'll ask Alison.
The answer is that there has been, biologicals have been used now for probably about 80 years, extensively, out in sort of mainstream agriculture. And there has been 2 reported incidences of resistance building up to biologicals. And in both cases, it was a bacterium that produced a toxic metabolite. And so you can understand, like, a synthetic chemical is a toxic metabolite, and if you put it on regularly, the pest or the pathogen will build up resistance to it. In this particular case, it was the same genus of bacterium, 2 separate countries, but they had been used extensively in viticulture and I think avocados. And they'd been putting them on like 7 or 8 times in a growing season, and over a 5-year period there was resistance building up. Now, that's because that mechanism of action was very similar to, say, a synthetic chemical. Those like entomopathogenic fungi, or the ones that induce systemic resistance, because those mechanisms of action are quite different to a single molecule that has a toxicity against an individual biochemical pathway in a pest, it would be very unusual for resistance to build up in that way. So the answer is yes and no, but primarily no, because of the complex nature of the mode of action of microorganisms compared to often the single site mode of action of chemicals.
Could the panel give a bit of a discussion around the application of biologicals with regard to cleanliness of sprayer and bar pressure, to give us all your own instance, your own experience of roughly where you've got to be, how fussy you have to be, because we all need to apply this stuff and we've got to make sure it works, and we've all got chemical in our sprayers. Just ballpark.
I'm not sure that I've actually applied one as a foliar. I think I might have once. I've got a centrifugal pump on my sprayer, and so I don't probably have that high pressure, spot pressure that you do with a diaphragm pump. Cleanliness, I just go through a normal program. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, Simon, are you not cleaning your sprayer out properly? Is that your concern?
There's probably a lot of things I'm not doing properly.
Yeah, I think as long as you keep it clean, you'll be pretty right. Pressure-wise, there's been lots of discussion over that from different people I've spoken to. I think general rule is sort of 3 bars is, enough. 2.5 is where we're at, but Through O3s, no problem.
I've only done really with the, now that I'm doing with an electrical injection system. I got a unit out of South Australia and talked to the guy there who'd done a number of biological products with the University of Adelaide. His suggestion was try and keep it 2 bar and under as a general rule of thumb, and that's what I run with. But in terms of applying it as foliar, that's this year's project to work out.
Yeah, much the same as the others. I just treat it as a normal other product. Like I just, if the previous ones have been fungicide, insecticide, or just a general clean down, generally keep it around 3 bars. 3 bars about the maximum. And we've actually put them through O2s. They say the smaller, more pressure it may put on going through the nozzle, but we've had just as good effects with going through O2s as well.
There are no doubt a few people in the room who are quite curious to have a go, to make a start and experiment with biologicals. Which, in your opinion, should they start with? Where are they going to get the best bang for their buck? What are they? And are they going to replace it, whatever they're already using, or are they going to? Is it going to be an add-on to what they're already doing?
Yeah, I started on the wrong spot, I think. We've started using foliar applications, and if I started again, I'd start at the seed treatment. I think we get far more bang for buck doing a seed treatment, so yeah, I've probably started on the wrong spot. In saying that, we're still getting reasonable results by using foliar applications, and we know that's a harsher environment for biologicals to live in, sitting on a foliar leaf. So yeah, if I was going to start somewhere, I'd start by putting with the seed. And I think you get the best of both worlds. You get that better root development, which obviously gets the plant away quicker, and you also get that foliar protection, I guess, from things like trichoderma as that plant grows. So if you're going to start somewhere, start with a seed treatment or placement at the seed. And I'm just working my way through crop by crop. We started with radish to a degree because it had a high cost associated with it. But, I guess we've been doing through wheat, peas, beans. The only one I'm thinking about is if we start using it on grass, what the impact of some of these products might be on the endophytes within the grass. So that's something we just need to have a think about as to when we start to get to grass seed production as well.
If Phil was here today, then we're doing some work on it's come out of a trial, basically, and then squash testing it.
I was going to say the opposite, since I started the other way around. But no, I suppose Dave is right. You've got to start at the seed first. But even if you can, just do a strip or two, just as an indicator of strip, whether it's mixing up 50 kilos with a bit of trichoderma powder or trying something, but trying to get some untreated seed or farm seed or whatever, just to chuck it in, have a go, just see what that one strip looks like first. But I don't do any of the high value vegetable seed crops, so I've just concentrated on the cereals at this stage for me, sort of being there, hopefully pull some costs back out of it.
I would start with the seed. I think if you can give that plant the first breath it takes, technically, a good strong start with whether it's ST or whether it's tricho or whether it's a mix of everything. That's where the health will start. If you've got the plant interacting with the soil 100%, well, I think a lot of the diseases won't come in because the plant's health will overcome them. My experience in the last few years with plant rust, it's a stress more than a pathogen. Plant stress is letting the pathogen take over, is my experience, and I've found if you can keep that plant healthy, you don't get those same pressures.
Yeah, I think if you've got a specific problem to start with, identify that and work on that one. It's probably the best. The whole topic's huge. It's massive. And it can blow your mind. So I think if you can pick up a problem specific to your place and work on that. So whether you start in the soil with seed or on the leaf, you've got to know where your problem is that you're starting with. That'd be my advice anyway.
Just going on the numbers here today, there's obviously a growing interest in biological controls and that. Where do you see FAR's contribution in this going forward in resources and trial work?
I think
No.
there's a lot of people trying these things, and I think, you know, I'm not sure. People are probably sceptical of a farmer doing a trial and coming up with some numbers, but I think that's where the scientists can come in and quantify that. But, you know, have a go yourself. Even like Stu said, just grab a 50 kilo bag, mix a bit of stuff with it. It costs you a couple of dollars, and just see for yourself. Make sure you dig some holes though, because a lot of this stuff is promoting root development and things like that. So you're not necessarily getting an above ground visual, but you are getting that plant health from the internal. So that's sort of.
Yeah, I guess from FAR's point of view, they've got to do what the majority of farmers are wanting. So, you know, if you want more work in this area, talk to your ARG members and people on those committees, and they can let FAR know what area they want research done in. I think the problem's been is that a lot of people have been trying things on farm, but they don't often talk about it because they feel that they're the only ones doing it. But I think we're starting to see a little bit of a shift, and the reason you're all here is that you're all trying something on your own farm, and so is everyone else in the room. So I think the more people talk about it, the more FAR will realise that there is a growing need for a bit more work in this area, and that will drive the research.
Okay, can I? So FAR's signed up to a big 7-year multi-sector programme called A Lighter Touch that's contracted by NZ, and it's got about 15 different plant sectors involved. And Jo Drummond, there's Jo, she leads FAR's activities in that programme, and our goal in that programme is to identify how we can integrate biological products into mainstream arable cropping. And so the key programme that she's working on at the moment is looking at developing an IPM programme for wheat, and that's what we're going to do in the first instance. So she's looking at what are the resistance risks, you know, for the current agchems in a wheat rotation, and how can we minimise the risk of resistance building up and becoming a serious problem by replacing some of those chemicals with biologicals. And that's why we're interacting with commercial companies to find out what their biological products are, what they can do, whether they have relevance to the arable sector. So we're not developing bioproducts in our own right, but we are supporting the integration of products that companies have got into an arable system to provide options to the growers. And if anybody wants to know more about that programme, just go and have a chat to Jo.
Yeah, just talking about starting with the seed and the seed treatment. Do you think you need the liquid applicator type system, or because we've been using trichodera and a few bits and pieces, but it is hard to find powdered versions of things, and like you say, mixing on scale is quite difficult. But does the liquid applicator really help that?
The reason we're thinking liquid applicators are good is that you can add all sorts of things to that mix. So, I think you look at what's happening overseas in the States and all, some of those guys have got 6 or 7 different products going in their pre-plant mixes. And I can see the same here. So, this autumn we did trichodermal beans, but we also added trace elements into that mixture as well. So that plant's getting a really good start straight up. And I can see that, 3 or 4 years' time we'll understand a bit more, and we'll have 4 or 5 different products potentially through that delivery system. And I just think it's probably one of the more efficient delivery systems. One, you're putting a living organism back into a living medium, which is the soil. You know, at the moment I'm trying to spray it onto a leaf and it comes out UV, and I've probably lost 60-70% maybe in the first day. So I think it's just probably a more effective delivery technique, and it gives you more options.
Yeah, if I was doing tricho only, I probably wouldn't have gone down the liquid route, but I've added quite a few other different things to the brew now, where the liquid allows me to tailor some brews specific to crops and/or paddocks. The paddock I drilled yesterday had 7 to 8 different products in it, a paddock wheat, but nothing too fancy. It's just a bit of fish, molasses, humates, then 3 or 4 micronutrients. Because in that trial that I did think not having the micronutrients did help hold me back 6 weeks. So it's then trying to build on that system as well. So you're not to do that easy with liquids, but it does require another attachment to the drill, and it is more complex, and it doesn't always go to plan either.
You could mention the growers leading change group.
We could. I've got 2. I'll get to that, James. I've got 2 2-ton X mulching hoppers, so they're steel with a slide-out bottom. So I use that for my dry mixing. So I'll put a half-ton bag of seed in, then I'll put the biologicals on top, another half-ton bag biologicals on top, and then I'll run that from one bin to the other a couple of times with the mask on. And because you don't want to breathe in the dust, I actually felt a bit funny for a couple of days after one day being a bit careless.
We got down here.
And it makes your hair fall out too. So, yeah. And that's how I do the dry ones. I'm actually just I played with the liquid system on our Duncan Renovator 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I just made a home-built system, and it cost me about $300 or $400. I've now got a different drill which I'm busy making the system for now. So you don't have to spend 30, 40 grand on a liquid system. You could actually, the bits and pieces are there, you could make one for a couple of $1,000s. We've got a growers leading change group sort of starting at the moment with playing with some liquid in-furrow brews, so watch this space. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, can I just, yeah. We don't play with brews. Okay, we do rigorous trials.
I play with brews. You tell me not to.
I actually really like the comment that Tom made sort of earlier. I think it's really important that you ask yourself, what is it that you're trying to achieve with the biologicals? Rather than, what biological will I use? You actually have to sort of turn it around and say, what is my problem, or what is the opportunity I want to explore, and then ask yourself the question, which of the biological products out there seem to be the most suitable to achieve that goal? And I can't believe I'm going to say this because, like, trichoderma is my second love, but trichoderma is not the be-all and end-all. There are lots of other really good biological products out there. And so you just need to sort of do a little bit of homework, chat to a few people, find out what range of products there are, look to see what they're claiming to be able to sort of do and whether they've got data to back it up. And so be a little bit more structured in making your decisions. Don't just sort of jump in and try 5 or 6 brews, because you're not necessarily going to get the kind of progress and performance in the time frame. And I'm quite happy, if people want a bit of advice about, I've got this problem, what should I be trying? Just send me an email and I can give you a bit of a heads up. So I don't want people jumping in, sort of randomly testing biologicals. I think, think about what you want to achieve, look to see what products are out there, talk to the commercial companies, evaluate the data, and then, sort of decide, here's a trial that I want to try. Otherwise, we're all going to be running around just throwing random biologicals here, left, right, and centre, and I don't think that would necessarily be a good look for the industry.
Last question goes to James.
For those who are just starting to look at this, how would they go about, is there a database of manufacturers of what they produce and what they do? Because I'm discovering there's more and more out there, but is there an easy way to find out what is out there?
No.
I think like a day like this is good where you can get some information on what is out there. I didn't really realise BioStart was, I knew BioStart was a company, but I didn't know what they offered, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what the answer to that, but yeah, it's...
Google is a good,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you Google, biostimulants in New Zealand, BioStart comes up, agchem comes up, and biological solutions comes up. A whole load of companies will come up, and when you have a look at their website, you can very quickly recognise, who's actually been in the game and knows what they're doing and has got good data. Obviously, if you're looking for a registered product, then you can go onto the Novachem manual. You just put in category biopesticide, and all the list of all the registered biopesticides come up. You can click on them. It tells you what the claims are. It tells you what the safety data sheet is, and the label and everything. So I'm happy to point you in the right direction. And we did actually, we gave that little sheet of that, I mean, this is, you all got a copy of that, which is just a little bit of a cheat sheet on biopesticides. There is also a really good review that's just come out on biostimulants. It's not a New Zealand review, but it was done by a colleague of mine at Illinois State University, and it just came out last week, and it's a really nice review of the range of different products available, and what their mechanism of action is and everything. So if anybody's interested in reading a more formal scientific review, then just email me and I'll send you a copy of it. There's heaps of information out there. That's the problem, is actually trying to work out, what's credible and what's not. But this is a good start point. You've got, 4 companies that you can 5 companies that you can now talk to, and obviously New Farm and Syngenta and Bayer and UPL. They've all got biological products now coming onto the market. You just have to do a bit of homework.
So today was sort of born out of, there was a group of us that have been using these bits and pieces, but we've been using them sort of as a shotgun. And I think we just sort of wanted to learn a bit more about how, where and why. And I think then it morphed into what today's been, so that's sort of more of industry is learning it as well as a couple of us, so it was where it came from. But yeah, we potentially could run more days like this. It's just if the needs around.
Yeah. Is Simon going to say anything?
Yes, Simon.
Simon, you get to say the last word.
And just before that, there's one more final question on Slido. Promise it's the last one.
Is it before that?
They're all looking at phones now, so listen to Simon.
Yeah. Tell me when I'm allowed to speak, Anne.
You can speak now.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I imagine a few of you are finding this a bit uncomfortable or a bit strange or a bit challenging, and that's great, because when you're feeling uncomfortable, strange and challenged, that's a great place to start learning. I've been doing this for a wee while now, probably not focused on biological products, but more on soil health, and I've learned a lot and failed a lot and had the odd spectacular win as well, which has been great. So I think we can all wait and hope that chemistry is going to continue to evolve and be able to save the day and keep our crops healthy and all that, but the reality is the social license for that type of farming is disappearing, and the ability of technology to adapt to the changing conditions that we're creating by what we're doing now is waning. And so I'm kind of in the mind that we start introducing these ideas, and start discussing and start discovering new ways of doing things and evolve over time, instead of reaching the top of the cliff and then having to start all over again. So I guess the purpose of today really is to sort of introduce those ideas to some of you who have never come across anything like this before, provide a space to ask questions and to learn, and to help those who are already on the road. But I think, talking amongst farmers is the best way to learn, or the best way to find how to find good information as a starting point anyway. And FAR is a great conduit for that, because I think any of us who are doing this stuff are more than happy to field calls from anybody out of the blue who might want to chew the fat or discuss what's possible or what's feasible. So please, get in touch with any of us if you want more information. Certainly more than happy to help. And thank you very much to FAR and the team for putting all this together, and Nigel and Quorum Sense for initiating today. And I think we'll just leave it at that.